I appreciate I'm doing something that no one's ever seen me do before here, which is actually creating a Unity tower defense game. How about that? I've spent a lot of time with Unity. I will admit I've probably taken the best part of a year and a half's break off of it, but always enjoyed it. Typical sort of part-time developer, never really finished anything off, but I want to get my hands back into it, and maybe, you know, sort of midlife crisis style. Sorry, bear with me while I just get the Twitch stream chat going. There we go. Wanted to try and create another game, and I thought, you know what better place in the Twitch community to try and maybe just get a chat going, get the game rolling, see how far I go and what have you. So yeah, let's have a go at doing this. I've always been fascinated by random paths, sort of path generation algorithms, and I've created one that's very basic, very simple, and it's not quite working perfectly yet. If I show you some examples of how they look. This is sort of a very basic one. As you can see, it just goes from left to right. There's no real entrance or exit here right now, but it's populating an area. But we can get complicated. I've managed to add crossroads into these things, and you can see that it's got a wiggly route there that you can take. And we're going to create a fairly, what would you call it? You know, a little bit more than basic path algorithm that's going to produce random events, random results every single time. So you'll always get a unique path, right? You can see. So if you were to create a tower defense game like this could be quite a bit of fun. You know, to have a random game every time, and perhaps we can work on making the algorithm a little bit tighter going forward, so that we can, you know, adapt it to different scenarios and what have you. So this is what we're going to try and achieve, and we're going to try and do that using Unity and C# and some assets that I found online. So without further ado, let's move on to actually loading the Unity hub up, and then we will bring a new project up. Okay, let's just close a few things down here so it's not quite so busy. Okay, and let's bring up a new project. Hang on a second, let me close that down there and there. Gosh, so many things going on. And we will bring up a new project, and we'll call this bit, you can call it what you like, but I'm going to call it it's going to be 3D, and it's going to be called Tower Defense 04, because I've been doing this a few times now. So let's do that. Okay, I'm going to show you what I know. Like I say, this is probably, you know, there's different things that we can work on as we go through it, and probably I need to learn a few things as well. There'll be ways that I could do things better, but let's have a chat about what we're going to do. And the first thing we're going to do is import the assets. Well, the first thing we're going to do is wait for this thing to finish. So I would pause the stream now. I can't pause the stream, but I will pause the YouTube video and see you on the other side. Okay, we're there. It's all loaded up. Let's maximize this window. So we've got a thing. I've made the text and that a little bit bigger. I'm not going to mess around with any of the layouts and stuff. We'll keep it as it is at the minute. Although apparently the asset store now is no longer in use, so we could just grab that to a free window and then just close it. And there we go. We don't really need that, do we? Can we save that? I think it will come back next time we load it up. It doesn't matter. The first thing we need to do then, if we're going to create an algorithm, is to get some assets to play with. Well, it isn't the first thing, but let's do it anyway. I've actually created a little package here from and in fact I'll bring up the link. It's kenny.nl. Kenny.nl is a great resource for a variety of assets. And I'm using the Tower Defense kit, this one here, creating a rather lovely looking set of assets for modular attachments here. So these are all 1x1 squares, which is brilliant. And you can see we can create, there's like a snow scene and a grass scene as well. There's a few extra bits. The aliens aren't great, and the towers aren't superb either. There are a few turrets and stuff, but it's not the greatest. But we'll look at that in a bit. That doesn't matter. But yeah, kenny.nl. Take a look. I mean, if you just click on assets in general, got so much stuff here. All free, all available for commercial use. I say all, just double check. But if I just show you the tower defense one again. I could have been doing this while it was loading, couldn't I? Tower defense kit here. If you look at the license here, you're free to use these game assets in any project, personal or commercial. There's no need to ask permission. Brilliant. How brilliant is that? So I've created a little export of those assets into and use a color palette. Let's just go through it now. So let's just assets, import package, custom package, and it's on my desktop. There she is. And that's it. So I've got this, I've used a palette called 16pal. Okay, ever a while importing the prefab tree2.prefab. Let's have a quick look. Okay, these haven't worked. Okay, brilliant. Right, so this is a really, really great start. But I can actually solve this. I'll have to pause the video again. So let's just delete these two folders then. Let's just view the size of it. This one. This is the one. It looks as though you have to have the models as well, which I wasn't expecting. I thought I could actually make the original prefab, so it doesn't look like that's the case. But we are cool. Okay, I think we're going to be okay now. Yeah, there we go. We've got the assets in. Here we go. These are the assets. They're not very well lit here. I don't know if you can see them okay. But let's just bring the tile variant in, for instance. We can see we've got a just a basic green tile, and we've got a corner here. Let's just get these in Unity. Let's just put that as 2 and 2, and then grab you. And I think if we haven't already, no, we need to stick the toggle snapping on. There we go. And that should just connect nicely, although we've probably got to start it off in the right place. 2, there we go. There we go. And then we can create a straight line. Is it going to be kind? Yeah, it's going to snap to it, you see. And we can, so now what we can do is we can create a nice modular path that's going to go around going to create our little path around. So we're going to start very, very simply here. And we're not, before we even get to these points here, we need to start creating some plumbing that's going to allow us to create a path from point 0 to the width of how far we're going. So let's start with a really simple script called path generator. Okay, so we'll under here, now let's create a folder called not there, sorry, here, right click and create folder called scripts. Okay, and we'll call that scripts. Boom. And in that folder, we're going to create a C# script called path generator. And this is going to hold our algorithm. It's not going to do anything particularly UI based at all. It's just literally going to be the responsible for creating the algorithm and creating helpers that allow other things to see what's going on with the path. Right. So it's very there's a term in coding called coupling, and the idea is that you try and keep things as loosely coupled as possible, so that this class called path generator is just going to be for the path. Right. It's not going to have any links to the game objects or whatever, or the UI or something, so that it can start updating the score, for instance, or something like that. It's not going to do anything like that. It's got to just be its own thing, and then we'll write other stuff that's going on here. I'm a bit nervous about this here. I think that's fine. I think we can clear this now. I think we can clear that now because we've got it all in. We've got everything we need. So in our script then, let's create a C# script. In our scripts folder, rather, let's create a C# script, and we'll call it path generator. Path generator. Okay. And it's going to have a few things in it. Now, this is not going to be a script that's going to be accessed directly by any of the game objects. Let's just go in here. When you do this, you'll see. I'm interested to know what people think of the font size. Hopefully it's nice and big. I've noticed whenever I watch other people do these videos, they go for something really small like that, and I'm squinting to see what's going on. But I quite like to have the text nice and big, not just because I'm old, but also because I think it's good for it's good for people to focus on what's going on. So this path generator is not going to have anything at all here. It's not even going to be a Unity. Actually, I might just keep those, and it might need access to the UI sprites that it's going to generate. Do you know, I don't think it is. Let's just see what we use and what we don't use. Okay, but one thing the path is going to need, it's going to need a height, and it's going to need a width. So let's get a couple of variables there. Private int height and width. Now we've got a decision to make here. Do we call it path height and path width, or do we just call it height and width? I think for now we're going to call it height and width. Okay, and we'll create a constructor, public path generator. Now there are shortcuts. This is one of the areas that I'm tempted to go width and height. I know that sounds a bit bonkers, but width comma height sounds the correct way to do this. I don't know what you think. Int height, right? I know there are shortcut constructors for this. So if I do that, now hang on. It should have created the gap for me. There we go. It creates the formatting for me, and we'll just say this dot width equals width, and this dot height equals height. Okay, nice and easy so far, right? We're going to want a way to store our path. All right, so you know the coordinates of each of the each of the path cells. I wish I had a diagram. I might just stick one in front of me. Let's just see if I can bring one up quickly. Pause the video. Okay, so if we bring up a grid. Whatever. Yeah. I'm not sure if this is exactly how we should be doing it, but if we can see here that the cells, this is just an example grid. This bad example. This will be the width going this way and the height going this way, and each of the cells will have a value, right? So one thing to bear in mind for coding in general, this is an annoying website, is that it starts at 0, 0 on the bottom left. So x and y, that's 0, 0. X gets greater to the right, and y gets greater as it goes up. All right, so that's something just to bear in mind. It's something that will confuse us later, I am very sure. But for now, we're going to keep it nice and simple, right? And let's create a class that doesn't do anything. Sorry, that doesn't return anything, called public void generate path. All right. We need to think about how this is going to do it. What is it? What is generating a path? Well, for me, a path is a set of cells along a route. Okay, so that's going to be the path. So we start at the far left-hand side and we work our way over to the right. Obviously, we might go up and down and round about, but we want to go from left to right. So in order to store that, what we can use is a Unity class, a collection, in fact, a list of type. I can't type. Vector2 int. All right. So what that is literally x and y values. Okay. So we can say 5,2, 6,3, things like that. That's what vector2 it contains. So we'll call this path cells, I think. Yeah. And in our constructor, we'll just we won't. No, not in the constructor. We won't do it in the constructor. We'll do it in the generate path method. We'll create a new path cell. So path cells equals new list of type vector2 int. Okay, we're off to a good start. Now, how do we go about generating a path? Well, let's not go too mad at the minute. Let's just create a path from left and to right. Okay, and we'll say for int. Here's a top tip. Here's a top tip. If you just do for and then tab twice, we're just going to say I is less than width. Right. This isn't a funky algorithm. We're just going to create a straight path from the left-hand side to the right-hand side. And what I might actually do, just to make it a little bit clearer, is make these x. I'll make this x. X is going to be the width. Okay. X is going to be the long, so to speak, along the x-axis is the width. And then we'll just say we need a y value as well, don't we? So just for the sake of it, let's just say int y equals int height over 2. All right. So if it was 8 high, the y value would be 4. So somewhere in the middle, right? Okay. That's not actually true, is it? Because it would be just below the middle because there's no 4.5. But yeah, you know what I mean. between 4 and 5 is where it should be. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. We'll be fine. We'll get through this. Right. What we'll then do is we'll say path cells dot add new vector2 int x comma y. That's it. That's our path generated. Now this is a very boring path. It's literally going to be a straight line, but You know, we can at least see what's going on. And what we'll do is we'll get it to, actually, now I say it, we'll get it to return that list. Yeah, that's what it's going to do. So it's going to return. Now, I don't like doing this because potentially this means... What's wrong with that? Oh, no, return path. What this potentially means is that somebody could then edit this out of the outside of the class, which we don't love. At the same time, we don't hate. There's convenience and there's inconvenience, but let's just see how we go with that. We can maybe tighten this up. It's just about loosely coupled and stuff like that. Suddenly, if somebody takes this and then just starts mucking about with it elsewhere, then this class becomes a little less meaningful. But for now, let's just do that as a very simple path generator. Let's save that up. Go back to Unity. Now, nothing's happening right now, obviously. We can't run anything, can't do anything. So let's create a game manager that's going to use this path generator. Okay, so let's just, in here, create C# script. And we'll call this, let's call this path manager, shall we, or something like that. Okay. So what the path manager is going to do, this is going to be the program that's actually going to start. That's going to contain the interaction between the path generator and the front end. Okay, so let's go into this, and what we'll do in this class, it's going to have a link to the path generator. We can keep that private. Private path generator. And I like doing this, by the way, and I know, again, this is a bit controversial sometimes. I like giving it the same name, but with a lowercase p there. Don't know. Some people will say that's not a great thing to do, but we'll say path generator equals new. The other thing we need to do, here we can say what the width and height is. So we'll say public int width, and we'll just give it a default value of 16, and public int height equals 8. Okay. Should we call it path? Should we call it grid? Grid width and grid height. Okay. This probably shouldn't be called path manager. Maybe we should have called this grid manager, because this is going to have everything, including the access to the. It's going to create the entire grid of trees and grass and all that stuff. Is it too late? Maybe now's the time to do it. Maybe now's the time to do it. Let's do it. Let's close this down. Save if you like, and then we'll go back into Unity, and we'll rename this path manager. Let's delete it. I don't want to rename it. I'm going to create a new one. Hang on. Of course, it's taking its sweet time. Create C# script. So we'll call this grid manager. I don't know. Maybe that's a cool name, maybe it's not. Okay, right, we'll try again. Right. So this is going to have a public int grid height equals 8, shall we say? And public int grid width equals 16. Lovely. And also, like I say, a reference to the path generator, which others aren't, which you know, it's not going to be visible to the front end. There we go. And now we can say in the start option, we say path generator equals new path generator width, grid width, comma grid height. All right, and then just because I'm trying to keep width and height around the right way, I'm going to do that. Call me crazy. Call me crazy. Right, so path generator equals new path generator grid width grid height. And what we really want to do now is get this thing to generate a path. Now, there's a few places we could do this. I'm going to do it in the start menu, all right? And just to kind of, we'll come on to that in a minute. I was going to do a coroutine, but for now, let's just do path generator dot generate path. Okay, and then we'll say list of type vector2 int path. How's that? That seems pretty sensible, doesn't it? We could call it path cells, I guess, to give it consistent naming. And now what we're going to do now is we'll have a reference to a game object, or rather a prefab, that we're going to use to create that path. Right. So for now, this is going to improve. But for now, we just say public game object, path tile. Right. This is completely not what we're going to do, but it's just to prove the point, right? And then we're going to just say for. And now we can do something like for tab I is less than, it's going to be path cells, isn't it? Path cells dot count. Yep, I++, right? And then what we're going to do is we're going to instantiate each one of those path cells. So let's just say instantiate the path tile, a path tile, at the x, y. Now here's the first horrible thing we're going to come across. Y in 3D world is if you like, X and Z are the flat, the horizontal, and the Y is the vertical. So we need to get used to putting 0 in the Y column. So it's actually X and Z. I'm sorry. I can only apologise. So we're going to do this. So we're going to say new vector 3, right, which is the 3D world, and it's going to be path cells. Do you know what? We could use a for each. For each would be better, wouldn't it? For each is a better way to go. For each, vector 2 int path cell in path cells, right? That's the better way to do it, right? And now, okay, and then we can say new vector 3 path cells. Patch cells, path cells dot x. No? What am I doing wrong? New vector 3. Oh, is that right? Hang on. Vector 3, yeah. Path cell dot x. There we go. I must have path cells on that. And then 0. And then path cell dot y. Okay, now that's, and also we need to put this rather nasty quaternion dot identity, and what that basically means is don't turn it, don't rotate it, which quaternions, right? So if that doesn't make a huge amount of sense, I'm sorry, but what this does here is it's basically, we're going to create a prefab in a minute, a path tile here, right, and we're going to put it in the x and y position, so on the flat plane at the same rotation, right? So if we just save that now. This is called Grid Manager, isn't it? Yeah, there we go. So we pop back to Unity and we'll create a game manager here, a game manager object, which we're going to attach our sort of active scripts to. So let's just create an empty and we'll call this game manager. And we'll put our grid manager in there. And then what happens when we do that, you can see there's a few things that have happened over here on the right. We can adjust the width, we can adjust the height, and we can put a path tile in there, which is a game object. So if we just quickly grab our prefabs folder here, and we're going to let's put the tile variant in here. I should rename these. I'll do that later on. We'll rename. You can rename them anytime. So let's get the game manager back up, and we'll pop the tile manager into the game object there. Okay. Now, if we run this, I'm hopeful. Not from that angle, but you can see that it's created a bunch of tiles. Okay, and yeah, you're right. It doesn't look great. It just looks like a boring bunch of tiles, which makes some sense, right? In fact, what we could do is we could do the horizontal one. Let's just the road one. Let's just see if that actually puts a straight road in. Let's just see. You never know your luck. They're probably going to be all vertical now, aren't they? Yes, look at that. Typical. What we might be able to do here is just change the rotation to 90 there, and now run it. It's being cheeky, it might work. That did not work. Okay, we need to change the angle. Yeah, that didn't work, did it? I thought the tile straight there would rotate 90. Interesting. That looks right to me. When I brought it on, it looks like that's the right way around, doesn't it? Let's just put you back to 0 again. Run it again. Yeah, okay. We can change that. We can actually rotate it in the class here, so we can actually say. In fact, we could. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it because I can't exactly remember the logic, but we can put a rotation in there. But for now, we don't care. We don't care what that's doing. We're not. This is by no means what we're planning on finishing with, right? Hang on. Let's just bring up the game manager again and just pop the tile variant in there. All right. So we generated a path. I want to get a little bit smart about how it looks, though. I want to create in our path generator. Our grid manager, rather than just slap it straight down. I wanted to show it building along. Again, this is something we'll probably take out later, but at least it will show us when it's building. And I think if you watch it being built, it can really help. It can really help you understand how it's working. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to move this bit here. If I right click it and then do quick actions and refactoring, I think you can say extract method, and we'll call this method lay path. Let's call it lay path cells. All right. And we don't need to pass it the path cells. Yes, we do. Do we? Yes, we do. So we're going to have and then what we want to do here is say start coroutine. Okay, like so. And then this needs to be a private I enumerator. And then just bear with me while I do this, and then we just say return null down here. I think that's going to work. So what have we just done there? Well, what we've said, a start a coroutine is a way of running things in the background. It's not, to be clear, it's not multi-threading. I think some people get confused with that and multi-threading. It's not. What it allows you to do is break this task up so that one frame. Everything's about frames in any game, right? It's about how much time it takes to process a frame. So if something's taking ages to do, you might want to say, well, do a bit of it, take a break, and we'll finish off at the next frame. Really good example for that is something like an enemy AI. They might not want to. The logic for them to reach you might be quite complicated. So you're thinking, well, okay, I'll break that down into stages. Perhaps I'll try and work out to get from, to get from A to F. I'm going to work out how to get to A to B first, B to C, and so on. Something like that, right? So it might make it a little bit easier for you. So we're going to do something like that here, where it's going to pop a cell down, wait a second, pop another cell down. So we can do this here, and we can just say, just right here. This is how you do it. You say yield, return, new, wait for seconds. And then we'll just say half a second or something like that, right? Okay. And that should yield, that should say yield return null, I think now. And we're good, right? Okay, so what that's going to do, every time around, it's going to lay a path. It's going to lay a path cell down. It's going to wait half a second. So if we run that now in Unity, it takes a second to get back to Unity, which is it processes the file. So if we run that now, we should see a slightly different effect now. Yeah, let's just do one thing as well. What for now? I don't really care about the game view right now. So I'm going to stop this, and I'm going to click on to the game manager. Where it says play focused, I'm going to do play unfocused, so that now when we run it, it'll stay on the scene view. I hope. Let's just find out. There we go. Now the first thing you're noticing is that it's with the wrong way around, with the wrong side. I don't know why it starts us like that, but it does start us like that. So what we can do is just flip this round so that we're facing the right direction. Okay, and then just zoom in a little bit. Okay. By the way, what is that that's clicked on here? The game manager. Let's just reset the transform of that as well. Not that we super care. Actually, stop it first, and then we'll reset that just so it's at the start there. Maybe not the best place for it either. I'm not sure. Here we go. Right, so we can see now that actually you'll notice that it's further up, and that's because remember we did it halfway, which is 4. Right, and you'll see if you look at the position here, or rather look at the tile variant parent, you'll see that it starts as Z at 4. Remember, Z is Y. I'm sorry. I'm very sorry. Great. So we've got ourselves a. Well, how far does it go? It'll probably go to. If we look at the parent, I'm guessing it's going to be 15, right? Because for those of you that know any coding at all, will know that if you make something 16 an array of size 16, it's actually 0 through to 15. Yeah. Okay, so we're happy with this. This is working as it should. It doesn't look great, but it works as it should. Now, the way we're going to try and work out whether to go left or right or whatever is we're going to create a random range, and this is going to get a little bit sticky. So I'll just code it through now. I'm going to put my notes here because I have done this already. Here we go. Right. So there's a few things we need to do. Let's just crack on with the path generator. Go back to the path generator script here, and then we go into the path generate path function method. Here it is, generate path. Okay, and we're going to scrap this, or at least comment it out. All right. For now, let's just comment it out. I sometimes wonder why I bother commenting it out. I'm never going to use it again. So, but we can do the same thing pretty much, except now we can't do a for loop now because we need to think about all the times that it's going to go up or down. So if it's going up or down, X isn't moving to the right. So what we're going to do is we're going to say, in fact, we can keep Y, can't we? Y can stay as it is. Okay, and we'll say int X equals 0. And then get rid of that, clean it up a little bit, and then we'll say while X is less than width. Okay, that's a good start. One of the things I'll just bring you back to my images again. Things that I've done in my image here is that there's always a gap. So what I've done is every even square, every even cell number, every even X is always moving one to the right. But then at this point here, it could go up or down. I know it's got these smooth corners at the minute. We'll work on getting that all right, but that's going to take us a bit of time. Yeah, so for it to so that will be 1. I think that's 2. That's 3 here, right? So then it can go up any number, and then when it stops, it goes right. But it will definitely go right on this square, so that we've got these gaps where we can put our turrets. Right. If we don't do that, what happens is it will come up and then straight down again. And I guess that's okay, but we're not doing it. I like this aesthetic more. It's not perfect because theoretically you could have gone up and then up again, which would have been fine, but it looks all right to me. I'll leave it as an exercise for you guys to try and come up with a smarter algorithm. This one's pretty tidy, right? So we're going to say each time it does it, we're going to create. When it gets to here, it's going to create a new vector2 int. So we'll say path cells dot add. In fact, we can do this. Brackets. There we go. Okay. We're off to a really good start. Now, what we want to do now is we want to try and work out what we're going to do. And we're not going to go into the next while loop until we've got a solid answer. Okay. So we're going to say, we'll set up a Boolean to say valid move. And we're going to say equals false. And then we'll say while not valid move. So it's going to run this at least once. All right, it's going to run this at least once to see what's going on. So what I was saying, every even square, it's going to go to the right one. So let's just create a we'll say int move. But let's have a think of what options we've got here. We've got right, up, or down. Yeah, that's all we're going to do in this. It's not going to loop back on itself. We're going to add the crossroads, the loops a bit later on. So all this can do is go right, up some, or down some. Right? And obviously it can't go up and then down, otherwise you'll end up with a kind of split. So it's got a decision to make. So it's 3 possibles: right, up, or down. So we'll say int move equals random dot range, and the way we do that is we'll say 0, 3. Okay, and that's slightly confusing, but it actually means that's only 0, 1, or 2. Right, 3 is exclusive. Again, I'm sorry. So what we're going to do now is go either right or up or down. Right, and then what we'll do now is we'll say if brackets move equals 0 or x%2 equals 0. Okay, so what I'm saying is every even square, every even cell, we go right. Okay. Or if the random thing chose to be right. Okay. So we'll just say x plus plus and valid move equals true. Making sense? Making some sense? Valid move equals true. It's going to go to the right one, and then when it breaks out of the loop of the while loop, it will go back to the top while loop, create a new cell. All right. So we're happy with the right hand side. I think that one there isn't too challenging, right? Where we need to start thinking. So else if, let's just do else if move equals 1. Okay. We're going to say let's say 1 is up, shall we? 1 is up, so we're going to go y plus plus. All right, let's just do this without any restrictions and see what happens. I think it's going to look pretty terrible, but let's have a go. We're going to say y plus plus. It's not checking to see if if it's out of range or anything, or if it's hit the high or it's below 0. It could do anything, right? And we'll say valid move equals true. It's not going to check it, and finally we'll say else. I'll just say else if move equals 0. We'll say y minus minus. Sorry, y equals 2. Y minus minus, valid move equals true. Okay. So what this is okay. So that's going. So the 1s and the 2 update, move the y up or down, and the move equals 0. Or if it's an even cell number, it always moves to the right. Okay. I hope you're still with me. Let's give this a go. This is not going to look great, I don't think. Let's go to here. Let it run a second, and then we'll do this, and let's have a little look, see what it does. It's only going. Oh no, here we go. It's gone a bit right. The reason it's suddenly stalling is because actually, if we look carefully, I suspect what's happening here is that you see, at no point is it checking the value. There we go. It's finished off. You can see it's like a right old mess of this, and I suspect if I just pick if I just find one somewhere. Okay, if I look here, maybe, or help me out. I'm hoping one. There we go. So you see, it's actually gone over itself. That's not what we want at all, is it? We don't want anything like that, right? So let's first of all create a new method to see if that square is already taken. Right, so let's create a new. Should we make this private? Let's make it private for now. We'll call it private bool. Cell is free, right? And it's going to have a int x, int y. This isn't going to do much, actually. This isn't going to do that much. It's going to say return path cells dot contains vector2 int x comma y. Okay, so that's what this is doing. By the way, so the contains method, you notice the new one here. So you think, well, that's a completely different method. But actually, the equals thing just compares the x and the y values. All right. Okay, so this is going to say right, well, I want to go up 1. I want to go plus plus. But is there already one there? If so, I won't go there. Right. Okay. So it's slightly slow because it's iterating through each time, but we can get the hang of that, right? So now we're going to say on the y plus plus, we're going to say if move equals 1 and cell is free, brackets x comma y plus 1. I'll put that in brackets. No, I'm not. No, I'm not going to put y plus 1. Okay. So what we've said is, if you're going to go up 1, first of all, just double check that the one above you is not being taken already. And then, of course, we can do exactly the same thing. Not delete it. You can do exactly the same thing here. But, of course, we want y minus 1. And that then should mean that it doesn't go up and against itself. Okay, so now let's have a look. I'm going to make this slightly quicker on here as well. That looked a little slow. Let's make it 0.4. Okay, here we go again. That's very annoying. That makes me think I've done some. So that cell is free, must not have been working properly. Okay, let's have a see if we can work out why. Ah, I know why. Because that's always, sorry, the cell is free, of course, is always going to return false. Yeah, so we want to say return not path cells dot contains. Okay, if that's not obvious, again, I apologise. Come on, there we go. Right, so now we've got a better chance. Try and get over sort of there-ish. There we go. Okay, now we're building a nice looking path look. Not too shabby. Not too shabby at all. Now there might be some things that are going wrong here. If I just get to the bottom one, I hope you can see that Z is -1. Alright, so that, remember that's the Y value. That can't go above, that should not go below 0, and it shouldn't go above path height -1, right? So it should be between 0 and 15. So let's fix that now. Let's also say, so if it's going down, then it needs to be greater than 1, doesn't it? And Y is greater than 1. Now, the only other thing I'd say about this is, well, maybe it's greater than 1. Maybe it should be greater than 2, so that we've got an edge that we could put towers along. I'm tempted to say 2, right? Just to give us that extra border at the bottom. I'll leave it up to you. We could even add a variable for it, right? And the same one's for this. Well, it's slightly confusing. We're going to say Y is less than path height. Sorry, height, which is 16, right? But it needs to be -2. Okay, -3 in fact, if we're going to leave a gap, right? Because so 16 we want to be less than 15, so it needs to be 14 at least, so that it goes to the 15th one. But actually we want to go into the 14th one maximum, so it's actually height -3. And again, I apologise for the way that it's zero-based systems, right? Yeah, Y is less than height -3. Okay, that should keep us in bounds. It's going to be difficult to see this at the minute. We can see it's doing it. Lovely. And hopefully now it's going to be. Let's speed that up a touch as well, shall we? Just, I think in fact, we almost don't need the speed at all, do we? Let's just do 0.25. I'll let you define if you're happy with that speed or not. Now, there's one other thing that you'll notice here. It looks like the first one is great. It always goes to the right. We know this, but I wouldn't mind it if the last one always went right as well. I don't like finishing off like that. I feel that it should always be going right. So what we can do on our script here, not this one, path generator, is just add or x is greater than, well, we could try, well, sorry, it'd be width, won't it? Let's try width -2. Okay, so we're saying, look, if it's reached a certain value, just go right. Okay, so it always ends up going right. So it starts off going right, ends up going right as well. So just, you know, we're not kind of scraping down the far end of the right hand side of the grid. Okay. Hope this works. Lovely. Okay. This is good. This is good. It's boring, but it's good. And you can see it's gone right there. I mean, of course, this could be lucky, so we should run it a few times just to double check. It's a bit dull. We can certainly remove that wait procedure. These are boring, right? Now, okay, this is okay, but what we could actually do, if we were feeling fancy, is we're returning our path cells here. I'm going to create a new method called, no I'm not, I don't need to actually. We can just regenerate the path. Okay, yeah, because it's going to overwrite it. What I was going to say was now in our method here, we can just say, where are we creating the path? Path cells equals path generator. Okay, so we're just going to say int path size equals 10, right? And then we'll say while path size is less than, hang on, let's put brackets around this, 25. This could go badly wrong. Okay. Hang on. Yeah, I need. Okay, and we'll just do this. We'll have to do this twice, which is a bit annoying. Okay, and then we'll say like that. And path. Sorry, no. So we'll say int path size equals path cells dot count. Right. This is a bit. And then we'll do the same here. Otherwise, it won't change. Right, and that'll just keep looping round. Not int path size. Path size. Right. So it's going to keep looping around until it finds a size of at least 25. Now, I've had problems with this before where I've caused it to crash. So let's do something. Let's save the scene quick before it's too late. Where's the scenes? Create a new folder called scenes. I thought I had a folder called scenes. I haven't. And we'll call this something like main scene or something like that. What are we doing here? Scenes. Let's do file. Save scene. Come on. Sample scene. All right. Fine by me. Fine by me. Right, so let's run this now. And that should loop round until it finds one of at least 25, right? Okay, that's looking better, isn't it? Right, and what we can actually do, if we're feeling fancy, is why don't we do this? Why don't we say up here, public int min path length, yeah? And we'll say it equals 30. Let's just push our luck, right? Just do that. Put that there, right? So now we'll set that and we can set it in the game object. So it's got to be at least 30. Run this with caution. What we could do actually is we could say for int I equals, let's just do, hang on, break that down. For I is less than 500 or something like that, right? And then we'll put this in here. Where I'm going with this, I'm going to do a breakout. Hang on, what am I saying? Yeah, if I is less than 500, or there's a few ways we could do this. I'll have a think about that later on. Right, we'll have a think about that later on. For now, let's just be cautious. All right, just see what we can get away with. So this is going to keep running around and around, but there's a potential that we could actually end up in a situation where it will never actually work. Okay, so does that look okay? Well, yes, it does. Go back to here. Go back to our game manager. Let's push the boat out. Let's save the scene. Hang on, and then we'll try 35, and then we'll run it. We should see longer paths now because it's as you can see. I think I've probably hung it with 35, which is interesting. Oh, there we go. It took ages though. Really? Interesting. That's interesting how it did that, right? We go up and down. Maybe that's the only way it can do it. What cell is this? That's 2. Yeah, so literally that's the only way it can do it because I'm guessing that's the high one, is it? Hang on, let's go to the parent. 5. Okay. Let's just try one thing. I wonder if I've gone a little too high, a little too low. Let's just try -2 here. Okay. We wait for the thing to reload. There we go. 35 is too many for this size of grid. All right. There we go. We might get a little bit more interesting now. It might just... There we go. Lovely. Interesting stuff. Okay, so 35 is right on the limit of what it can do. If we just look at this here, 6 is fine, right? This is where we want it at 6, because 7 will be the last one we can use. That's good. Okay, and I'm guessing these will be 2, right? If I just go to the parent, it seems to create the tile itself, and then the clone kind of a parent transform for it. I guess I don't know why it does that. Right. Anyway. Yes, you see that's 2. So this is ideal. 30 is clearly very, very tight. There maybe even be an algorithm that we can look at to work out what the actual correct size would be. We're in a good shape, people. Now, what I want to do now, I've got a few things I could do now. Is we could start looking at how and what shapes these need to be. All right. So if we look at our prefabs again. We've got, although unfortunately it's very dark on the screen there, but we can see that we've got the corner ones and we've got straight. As it turns out, those are the only ones we're going to need right now, because we can just rotate the corner accordingly, right? But it's not easy. It's not easy to do. We need to say, well, what was the previous cell and what's the next cell? And based on that is how I will decide what should go in here. Now, I created a system for this, and it's okay if I just maybe get Notepad++ up. Okay, what I thought would be a good idea would be to have something along the lines of, for the cell that you give it, right? It looks. So let's just say X here, right? This is the cell that X is probably a bad example. Let's call it C for cell, right? It's going to look above it. Okay, it's going to look below it. And it's going to look to the left. Let's just hang on. Something like that, and then it's going to look to the right there. All right, and it's going to add up these values: 1, 2, 4, and 8. Right. Now, the thing to bear in mind, remember, that's down, that's minus, and that's plus. Okay, so maybe I should do something like that. What do we think? That makes a bit more sense, doesn't it? Because, or we could even go 1. So it doesn't matter as long as, yeah. Okay. So what it's going to do is it's going to then return a value for this cell here of how many paths there are around it. We can use that as path cell, which is great as well. All right. And to bear in mind, if it's not obvious, then that gives us a range of between. Well, theoretically 0 and 15, right? So if there's nothing around it, it'll be 0. So it gives us 16 possible values. But a number of these aren't going to be available to us because if there's only one below it, the number 1 will never be seen. Now, in theory, as long as they're joining up together, they'll have 2 numbers. They'll have 2 connections, right? Either side. So some of these numbers are going to be redundant. So maybe we could reuse them, or maybe we could reuse them in the main grid. I don't know. We'll have a little think about how that's going to work. So for now, let's create a little method in the thing here called, I don't know. It's going to return an int. Get cell neighbours. Get cell neighbour. I'm going to spell neighbour the UK way, by the way. Just to be clear on that. Get cell neighbour. I want to say like binary, but get cell neighbour. What's the word for using the binary index or something like that? I'll get cell neighbours. Get cell neighbour value. I don't love that right now. And then we'll put int x, comma int y. Right. Right, and then based on what we've said, we'll say int return value equals 0, and then we'll say if brackets is cell not cell is free. That's confusing, isn't it? I'm also tempted to rename that the other way. Cell it. We could also call cell it. Yeah, cell is free is right though. I'm tempted to call that cell is empty. By the way, let's just do Control RR. Let's just call that cell is empty. We could create another method called cell is taken. Right. Int X, call it int Y. In theory, right, we don't we we could just return the opposite of that. We could return not cell is empty, but that's confusing. So I'm just going to say return that. I'll remove the not. Now that's possibly clumsy coding. I also like it. If cell is taken, and let's start with the 1, which if we look at our notepad is the y minus minus. So it's going to be x comma y minus 1. Return value plus equals 1. And then we're going to do something similar. Do we do the y values first? Let's just do the y's first, shall we? And then, so y plus 1. I think we said that was going to be 8, didn't we? Didn't we say it was going to be 8? So if it's above it, remember that's below and that's above. It's going to be 8, yeah. So we'll say x plus equals 8. And should we stick the x's in the middle? So we'll say if cell is taken, brackets x minus 1, comma y, return value plus equals, is it 2? Yep, 2. If brackets cell is taken, x plus 1, comma y, finally return value plus equals 4. Okay, what's wrong with that? Return value. And then we can down here we can say just here return value. Right. So that's going to go around, and for any cell that it finds, it's going to work out the two cells, the two neighbours. Okay, and it's going to give us an answer, and then from there, what we'll do is we'll create a game object. We'll assign a game object to it to put in for that number. So perhaps, for instance, if C was here, and let's just say it was an up bend, so it had one to the left of it and one to the right. So it's going to return 10. All right, it's going to return 10 here. So we need to have an array of game objects from 0 to 15, and 10 of them will be a corner. It's good, but it's not great. I'll tell you why. We've only got one corner flag, only one corner game object, so we also need to tell it the rotation. And I think the way I'm going to do this, I'm just thinking as we talk if there's a better way I can think of, but there isn't. So I'm going to create a class, I think, that's going to contain a game object. No, it's going to be a scriptable object. I'm going to create a scriptable object is what we're going to do. Scriptable objects are, if you imagine they're like game object light. All right, so they've got a few things that you can use, and they are linked to the inspector quite strongly, so you can do a bunch of stuff with them as well. So what we'll do is we'll create a new scriptable object, and just bear with me while I do this. Let's just close this down. Sure, what's this here? Yeah. That's me sharing the screen. We'll create a scriptable object for a grid cell, right? And we'll get a bit funky about how we do this. We can certainly make this work pretty well. So let's close this. Let's do. We'll save all below. Control Shift S. Control Shift S. Yes, Control Shift S. Make sure we're all saved up. I'll pop back into here, and we're going to create a scriptable object. So back to scripts we go, and let's just call it something like. I don't want to call it a grid cell. Could call it a grid cell. I could call it a grid cell. Why not call it a grid cell? A grid cell. I've got a grid cell object. How about that? Grid cell object. And if we pop into here, we're going to do a couple of things. First thing, we're going to remove mono behavior and call it Scriptable Object. Okay. No semicolon there, right? And because it's Scriptable Object, well, we can add start and await. I think start is there. I don't think update is part of this. So in fact, we can have a look, can't we? Click on it. I definitely clicked it. No, there we go. You can see all the different methods it's got. I love Visual Studio sometimes. Well, this is pretty nasty looking. I haven't said that. I don't see set dirty, create instance. I don't see awake or anything like that in there, and I know they're here. I'm not going to play with that. I'm not playing with it, but I know you can do things like awake. But anyway, we're not going to do any of that. But it is going to contain. I think we can keep this. We can keep this public for now. Game object. Call it cell prefab, shall we? And then we'll also create a. Hey, Grim, how you doing? Haha, yeah. It's not work, mate. This is play. This is play for me. How you doing, my man? Good to see you, sir. How you doing, mate? You all right? Glad to see you, fella. And it's also for now. Let's have a different. These things can have a type as well. Enum cell type, and we'll give it. What have we got? We've got things like it could be a path, right? It could be what should we call it? It could be ground, right? It could be just empty. It could be empty area. Empty. Yeah. Let's just call it ground, shall we? Or it could be a tower defense game, mate. Let me just show you what I'm building. Hang on one second. This is what we're going for, if I can find it. We're going to go for something like this. This is something I created earlier. Some of these, so like a random path generator. Okay, so this is the kind of thing we're trying to build today. You can see it's got some crossroads in it. I don't know if we're going to get to the crossroads stage today, but yeah, the idea is to make something like this that can build these things like that. So that's the plan. Yeah, so path, ground, and yeah, that'll do. Path and ground, right? For now, we could always change this later. Does that need a semicolon? It does not. And like I say, the only other thing it needs is it's going to need a public int y rotation, and that's important now. So we're going to have a number of corners. Yeah, Unity, mate. Yeah, Unity. Come and join me. Come and join me for the fun. All right? You can have a look at this in a second. So that, I think, is what we need. Now, but the beauty of a scriptable object is you can actually make them objects, creatables in creatables? Yeah, assets. You can make them assets in Unity. So what you can do that by adding this text here. I've got to get this right here. Create asset menu, thank you. File name equals, do I need to put a space there? I don't think it matters. We'll call it grid cell, and where it goes, so comma menu name. So I need to put this as well. I need to put that in brackets like that. There we go. Menu name equals, so we'll call it something like tower defense / hey discount, how you doing, man? How you doing? Tower defense, we'll call it a grid cell. Can you do a space there? I don't love putting spaces in things. No reason why you couldn't put. Let's try that, and then the brackets at the end, right? Okay. The other thing this needs, of course, it's going to need one more thing, which is the. No, I've got the game object. Sorry, got the game object there as well. Right. Okay. So what we could do, by the way, then once we've also run this path generator, let's once it's made the path, let's get it to. In fact, let's create a new method for it. Let's call it cell neighbor value here. Let's have a public method here. Public int. In fact, what we could do, actually, forget that. Let's make this public. All right. That should be fine. Yep. Okay. C#, fella. C#, my man. And I'm no C# pro either, so but I'm okay. I'm okay. I know a thing or two, but some of the kind of lambdas and stuff I get a little bit lost on. But yeah, I'm all right. And some of the sort of shortcuts you can do for getters and setters, I forget. I'm a Java boy by heart, so that's why I confuse. So what we'll then do, if we pop back to if we just do Shift Control S and we pop back to our tower defense here, what we can do, and we'll create a folder called call it grid cells, shall we? Grid cells. No reason to got anything else. And if we go in here and right click, if I'm lucky, under create, look at that, tower defense grid cell. Boom! And look, there's a little thing here, and it's got a funky thing, and we'll call this horizontal. Horizontal path. Okay. We haven't got a type in there. That was the other thing I was going to add. Hang on, let's just get that done then. Where's the enum? Grid cell object. Here we go. Oh, so I created the enum, but I didn't create the so public cell type. Cell type. I hope. What's wrong with that? Oh, okay. So I need to make that public as well, do I? Okay. Whatevs. Okay. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. We're cool. We're Fonzie cool. Lua, nice man. Nice. I don't mind a bit of Lua. I remember, what was it, World of Warcraft used to be able to program in Lua. So this is called a horizontal path, right? And so here we go. Now we've got our cell type, so we can set it to path or ground. We haven't got a prefab for it yet or any Y rotation. So we need to go back to our game manager here, and we need to have a think about how we're going to adjust our grid manager now, right? Because what the grid manager is going to need to do is going to need to look at each tile and say what it's going to be, right? So let's just get the game manager to go through each of the tiles and come up with the number, right? That it returns, and see what happens. Okay, I know we're getting a bit ahead of ourselves here. So yeah, so let's just do that. Let's go back to the. I'm a stickler for good spacing. I don't like these empty lines that Visual Studio adds just to tell you how many references it's got and stuff. There we go. Right, it's the grid manager, isn't it? So it's generated the path, and it's laid the path. So when it does this coroutine here, yeah, let's get it to say. That's fine because the path's already generated, so we know what it is. Let's get it to just do a debug .log path generator. We still got that? Yeah. See, this is the thing now, you see. Path cells is in path generator. So we're kind of referencing that and that. Anyway, okay, path generator dot get neighbor value brackets path cell dot x comma path cell dot y. All right, and that's just going to actually what we'll do as well. Hang on, we'll put it so tile quotes plus we're going to have to do that again. It's a bit of a messy one. Plus quotes, comma, space, quotes, plus that'd be y, plus quotes, neighbor value equals, and then plus again. Okay, apologies if that's a nasty debug statement, but okay, that's the hopefully, you know, for each cell we can now just evaluate how it looks, right? We can just see what numbers are coming up. Sometimes you've got to take a deep breath and do a whole load of coding. Okay, so where's the console here? Okay, let's just zoom out a touch on here. Right, so we click on the tile variant here. We've got 0, 0, 4. Right, so we pop to the very first one. Sorry, 0, 4. Here we go. So it's saying the value is 4. Now that's a slight problem, because the reason it's saying that is because it hasn't got anything to the left. Remember we had 1, 2, 4 and 8. So that's not a problem. That's not a problem. We'll make that a special cell. So let's start this now. We can do this already, right? Let's get back to our scripts over here. And in our grid manager, rather than have just this game object path tile, we're going to have a public. Yes, it is. It's going to be a public. I think it needs to be an array of type. What do we call them? Grid cell object. Grid cells. Okay. All right. Now, what we can theoretically do now is if we populate that in the inspector. Ah, good man, good man. If we now, this is a bit of a chunky bit, this, but we're going to get there. If we now do this inspector, we'll know if we populate the right numbers in here. We'll know because this value will return. Hang on, the get neighbor will return a value like 4, for instance, and then we'll use the 4th element in that array, or the 5th because it's 0. It starts at 0. All right. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to do this the other way around. Okay, we are very much relying on the inspector having values in the right place, otherwise it's going to throw a nasty. So let's just do this. Let's put that debug above this. Okay, and we're going to say game object. No, game object? Yeah, yeah, so that's fine, then we can get that. Cell prefab equals grid cells. Let's store that value, shall we, as well? Store that value here. So int, what's it called? Neighbor value equals like that. Okay, and then actually while we're at it, we'll just change that over here so it's a bit cleaner. I'm glad you're saying it's fun to watch, man. I'm glad to hear it. Right, and then we can, rather than do all that, we can just replace it like that. Okay, and we're going to say int go with cell prefab equals where's the array gone? Sorry, grid cells, and then neighbor value dot cell prefab, and then that we could have called that path tile. Let's call that path tile, shall we? And then it's going to instantiate the one at that point. I hope that makes sense. Okay, so this is going to be interesting. But I think if we start off with, what was the first number? 4, wasn't it? Because there's nothing on the left of it, just to the right. So what we'll do, we'll go back to our inspector. So we might need to do a bit of resetting here on our game manager. Let's have a little look. Let's just do a reset of that. So path tile is still there. I've had this before. So path tile is no longer here. Oh, hang on. Shift Control S, sorry. Okay. We need to compile properly before it. What's this? Oh yeah, and your semicolon there. Okay. What a beast of a line that was. Okay, yeah, there we go. It's reloading it, and maybe that's going to work. Path tile should disappear, and grid cells. So we need to create a 16. 16 is the right size, isn't it? 0 to 15. Agreed? 0 to 15 is a 16 size thing. And now I've tapped that, what it'll do is it'll create all these elements. That's good news. And then what we can go back to is our project here. Grab our, we're going to create a new one. Under our prefabs here, I've got this little starting one here. All right. So let's call that. Let's go back to our grid cells. Create a new tower defense grid cell called start cell. I can't. What's this one called? Horizontal path. I'm going to rename that to horizontal cell. Oh no, horizontal path. We'll call this start path cell. I'm going to do that. I'm going to call this one horizontal path cell. Right, and okay, so here we go. So start path cell is going to have under the prefabs this boy here. Pop that in the cell prefab. I have no idea what the rotation is right now. We might need to change that in a second. Right, and now what we can do is we go back to our game manager. No, go back to our models. No, grid cells, start path, game manager. Remember what we said. So this is value 4, so it's only got something to the right. So if we grab the start path and put it into 4, there's a chance it's going to blow up at the next cell because it's not going to be able to instant because there's nothing populated. But let's just see if it gets to the first one. It has. It has. It's blown up and it says object reference could not be found. And I suspect if I go to the console, yeah, so it's got 4 and then it's gone to 3. Look, which is 1 and 2, which using our Notepad++, which I can't believe I closed. 3 is 1 and 2, so you can see it must have been 2 and 1 rather, so it must be going down. But we've got a problem. Well, we had a problem. It's not on the rotation. So we need to go back to our project, start path, and we want that to be rotated possibly 90. It might be minus 90, we'll find out. That's not going to do anything unless we actually rotate it in the script. So I need to remind myself how that works, because stuff like that's nasty. I can't remember, so I might have to pop over to Unity to the documentation. So bear with me. Unity rotate 90 degrees. You see, I've done all this before. Rotating exactly 90 degrees. It's usually not too bad once you've got the. That doesn't look like it. That's not it. The best place to find is to go to the actual Unity docs. But it's quaternion.rotate, I think, is what we need. Quaternion.rotate. Pretty sure that's it. I think this is it. Oh, it's rotate. Come on, be kind to me. Rotate towards. Okay, I'm wrong there as well. Quaternion rotate. Come on. I don't think it's rotate towards. Transform.rotate. I think that could be it. Transform.rotate. That's it, I think. That's it. I think that's it. Transform.rotate. So, the way we get this. It's going to tell you all this nonsense here. Where are we? Just be kind. There you go. Space.world and all that. I think that's fine. Space.self. I don't know. I don't think you can ignore that, actually. I don't even think you need that. So what we need to do is save it. Back to here. Let's get some music back on. Feeling happy. There you go. How do I get rid of that? Okay. We need to save this game object now. Oh, we've already done that. No, we haven't. So it's a game object. Path tile cell. It doesn't really matter, does it? Equals. And then we'll say path tile cell dot transform dot rotate. It's going to be around the y-axis, so 0f, comma, that there, dot, y rotation, there we go, comma, 0f. I think you have to say something like vector 3 dot up or something like that. Well, okay. I'm close. I'm close, peeps. I swear I'm close. I hate rotation. So I told you I wasn't very good. Right. Space.self and space.world. I thought it was easier than that. Let's have another. Vector 3 Eulers, space relative to self. Yeah, okay. Well, let's just try space.self then, shall we? Don't know. I'm not happy about that. That wasn't what I did before. Okay, that has worked though. Okay, so now we can see that this is going to rotate around the same, what's it called, asset, this Y rotation. So let's just give it a go. Okay. Oh, that's fine. We can clear that off. Let's give it a run. See how we go. Maybe this will turn 90 degrees. It's done it. It's worked fine. I mean, it hasn't done the second one. Okay. So now what we need to do is just perhaps just fill those other ones with blanks and see what happens. But that's a really good start, isn't it? We've got our literally a really good start. So let's get the vertical and let's just put all horizontals in there now for now, shall we? Let's just go back to our game manager. And we will back to the project. In fact, let's put something bizarre in there so that we know it needs replacing. So let's create another one. Create tower defense grid cell, and let's call this let's call this empty, empty cell, right? And that's going to be a path, and it's going to have our. I don't like doing that one. Let's do that one there, and then we'll click on tile variant. It's going to do that, and it doesn't need any rotation, right? And now what we can do, go back to our game manager, back to our grid cells, and we'll just populate the whole thing. Yeah, come on, let's do all of them, and then we'll know which ones need doing, don't we? We'll gradually fill them in as we go. We've done start paths. That's great. Good stuff. All right, come on, we're getting there. Empty cell, it's not the greatest name, is it? Because it suggests it's like a none, but there we go, okay. Let's just call this a grass. There we go. The beauty of it is it will rename stuff like that. Okay, so now if we run it, hopefully it'll... There we go, good stuff, right. And we can work through it piece by piece until we get it all right. Okay, so this one here, that's you. This one here, this is the cell at 1,4. So if we go back to our console, 1,4 here has a value of 3. And the reason it has that is because it's got 1 to the left and 1 to the bottom. So we know we need to create a corner. I think maybe the best way to do this is to have, I might even rename that, to the actual number. So that was 3, wasn't it? So we're going to create a new cell, create one called, and we'll call this corner 3. Okay. And then what we can do is go to our prefabs. If I rename these properly, let's rename them now. So we'll call this grass, right? And then we'll rename this one to corner. And we'll rename this one to crossroads. And we'll rename this one to or. And we'll rename this. This could be start or end, couldn't we? We'll call it start dash end. And we'll call that one rock. Yeah. And we'll call this one T-junction, although we're never actually going to see a T-junction right now. And that's straight. Yeah, and we'll call this tree 1 because there's only one tree, and we'll call that one tree 2. I don't know why you're here. I want you. Delete and unpack. I will keep you there for now. Okay. That's tree 4. Tree 1, tree 2, tree 4. That'll do. Right. Okay. 1, 2, tree 4. Right. Good. So now what we can do now is if we go back to our grid cells, and what was it we said there? Corner 3. All right. So now if we click on cell prefab and we just search for corner, there we go. We don't know what the rotation is yet. Let's just leave it as it is. Okay. And then we go back to our game manager. We shut it down. Be careful doing that because sometimes it doesn't always save everything. And this is corner 3, so let's pop that into slot 3. And we're very lucky the next time it will also go down. Okay, so that's so down. This is the down one. Of course, it still worked, but we need to rotate it minus 90. Shall we see? If we go corner 3, let's try minus 90. Try again. Beautiful. I don't know if that makes sense right now, but you can see it's working as it should. It's going down, right? So now let's do the horizontal one, shall we? What's this one here? Yeah, this one here should be horizontal. So that is number 2,6. So if we go over here, so near the top, isn't it? 2,6 is 6. Do we agree with that? Horizontal is 2 and 6. If we go back to our thing here, 2 plus 4 is indeed 6. So we're going to go back to our project, grid cells, and we're going to create a, what's that? Horizontal path. Okay, so we'll call it, we'll call this straight 6. Straight 6. All right. And then we'll drag that into, sorry, no, here we go. So here, it's under cell prefab. We say straight, isn't it? That one? Straight, there we go. And then we don't know what the value is yet, okay, but we'll pop back into our, stop it, and then pop back into our game manager, pop straight 6 into value 6. Again, this might need rotating 90 degrees, we'll find out. It does. It does need rotating 90 degrees, and that's absolutely fine. Because we'll just do that. This is why we needed that object. This is why we needed this. There we go. Okay, there we go. Right. Let's pick on this one next. Let's do this. Let's do this one actually. Let's do this one, which is 1,4. Right near the top, basically. 1,4 is a 10 value. And why is it 10? Let's see if we can work out why it's 10. Because it's 2 and 8. Of course it is. 2 and 8 is 10, right? So what we can actually do here, save ourselves a bit of trouble. We got project and then corner 3. Let's just, can you Control D? You can. Let's call it corner 4, but we want to call it corner 10, wasn't it? We don't know. Let's just start with 0 on it and see how that looks. So this is one that's going up. We haven't copied it to the right spot. We haven't done that. We need to go game manager, grab corner 10 and stick it in cell 10. There we go. It ain't going to work if it ain't in there. Oh, we've got it right first time. We got it right first time. 2 and 8 is 10. There we go. Right. So right. Let's do. We're almost there. Apart from that one over on the right hand side, we can do that. So let's do this one, which is 1,2. So we go to console. Is 12. Do we agree with that? It'd be 4 and 8, won't it? 4 and 8. And why is that 4 and 8? Oh, it's 8 and 4, isn't it? 8 and 4. There you go, 8 to the 4. Because we're always going right, so we're never going to. At least we are at the minute. I mean, maybe we're making a right mess of this, but we're always going to go right. So 8. What's I say? 12, right? So it's 8 to the 4, right? Okay. So again, so we can copy the corner again. Project. What 10 is just Is there a duplicate option? Does it tell you how to do it here? No, but it's Control D anyway. Control D. And then we just rename that to 12. Okay, what do we think? That one was minus 90. Should we try this at 90? See how our luck's bearing out. And then we'll go back to the game manager. Pop that into slot 12. I think I've got it right, you know. So we've only got one more corner to go. I feel like we've got to do the verticals at some point. What are these? Well, should we see if we can work out what the number is without even looking at the thing? Let's just have a little look at our thing. A vertical is going to be 9. 8 and 1. It's going to be 9. So if I just grab the straight 6, Control D, straight 9. All right. Slow this down. Stop it. No, slow it down. Pop that into 9. Let's just see how good we're getting at this. Bad is the answer. Bad, because I think we forgot to set the rotation back to 0. Well, not good. We thought we were getting cocky. We were getting cocky. There we go. The verticals and the horizontals. So I think that only leaves this one here. And we can work it out. Come on, we've got this. It's going to be 1 and 4, so it's going to be 5. I do not know the rotation. I do not know the rotation, but it's not going to be minus. Let's try 0. Let's try 0. Guys, we got. Oh. Did I copy it in? Did I copy it into the game manager? No. I didn't copy it in. Okay, that ain't right, is it? So it's going to be, I'd say 180. Let's try it. Yep. Fabulous. Right, so the only one that's left is the last one, and I'm guessing it's only got a value on the so that's the same as that. No, it's not. No, it's not. It's the other way. That's only got a value on the right. This has only got a value on the left. So this is going to contain a value of 2, I think. If I go to the very last one, it should say 2. 2, yeah. So that's going to be a start one. That, if I go back to the... do you know what? That's 90. So I think it's going to be 180. So if we just copy that. Okay, we'll call this... we should call this something else, shouldn't we? We'll call it end path anyway. I think that might be minus 90. Let's try it. We've got to copy it in. What did I say was? It's only got one to the left of it, so it's going to be number 2, isn't it? End path number 2. I hope. Uh-oh. I think I got that around the wrong way. Oh, hang on. Really? Have I... Right, so... What's happened here? Right, why does it say start end clone for a start? Oh, that's fine, yes. Yeah, because they're all just names of the actual instances. Right, okay, fine. Right, you are the very top one, right? So your value is 4. Your value, I thought, was 2. Have I messed up and put it in 4? Hang on, let's have a quick look at... I put it in... Yeah, that's wrong. That should... The start path is 4. And the the end path is 2. Which is what I've put. Did I accidentally copy it in there by mistake? Oh, I think I know what I did. I think I renamed the wrong one. Oh, whatever. Boom. That's magic. How about it? How about that? We've got ourselves a random path every time, and we've got ourselves a minimum size as well, I think, due to that little... if we go back to our game object here, game manager here, we've got a minimum path length. So we can just close that down for now, just hide that. We've got minimum path length as well, so we could make it bigger, of course. Should we try a really big one? Try 32 times 16. 32 by 16. And let's make 60. I'm going to regret that. I think I'm going to regret that. Let's just save everything. Should be alright, because we've more than doubled the... Here we go. Okay, so we might have to go out a bit. Of course, we can make this a lot quicker now. There we go. Look at that. Ooh. Well, it's going right a long way. There we go. Well, that would be a monster of a tower defense game, wouldn't it? You'd be there all week laying things down. But it's worked. It's only gone and worked. Yeah, I think for the sake of our own sanity, I think keeping a really... I found that something like a 16, or maybe a 24 long by 8 or something like that, just, and don't keep it at 60. Now try something like 30. Let's do 25. A nice tight, maybe 10. Just looks that much better, he says. That's not terrible. I think we can do better if we go for 30. Of course, the beauty of this is you can always adjust this in game. Yeah, there you go. You can always adjust this in game, and we can definitely do better than that as well, can't we? Let's try 40. I think we need to populate the outside area now as well, right? We've got to get. Cool. Do we think that looks sensible, or does that look too big? It looks a little too big, doesn't it? I'm tempted to... Do you think you get tired of putting towers all along here and under there? Yeah, I think that's a little too long, isn't it? Let's try 18, shall we? Just careful on that number there, 235. There we go, nice long... See, if you don't, well, I mean, it's perfectly possible, but if I just set that to 5, you're going to end up with, I think you just generally end up with a rather boring looking straight. I'll say it now, and it'll be lovely and complicated. Yeah, you see, you just end up with this sort of thing where it's just a bit meh. Yeah, so it's quite good to set a minimum size, I think. Make it snake around a bit. Yeah, make it do its thing. Right, so like I said, I think what we should now do, I really, really, really want to rename that now. That should be called path cells. Oh. That should be called path cells, and I think if I rename that, it's going to delete everything. Because I want to have a path cells array, and I want to have what do you want to call it? I don't know, a forage array. Scenery array or something like that. Let's see what happens if I rename it. I've got the numbers, look, so it shouldn't be too bad. End path, start path, straight 6, straight 9. Yeah, so I think we're okay. We'll know where to put them. Here we go. This is the sort of thing that messes everything up. So what was it called? Grid cell. So we'll call this now just path cells. We need to be a little bit careful. Path cell objects. Right. If I go back into Unity, has it messed it up? It's still called them grid cells. Has it gone wrong? No, of course. Now let me just rename that. Hang on. So you have to do, it's one of my favourite things, Control R, path, cell objects. Now Control S, are we okay now? Come on. I'll just copy it. It's because I think I... Right, now let's go back. Get ready. Is it going to just dump it? Yep, it's dumped it. Empty. Boo. But we can do it. We can do it at 16. We know what we're doing. In many ways, it's quite good that it's empty because then we know. So corner 3 goes in obviously 3, 5, 10, 12. By the way, when we have a crossroads, you'll be unsurprised to hear it's 15 because it's going to have one around each one. I've done 12. And end path, which I don't know the number to. That's annoying. I should have remembered what they were. The end path is going to have one to the left, which is 2. And the start path is going to be 4. Straight 6. And straight 9. Okay. Lovely. Okay, let's give that a look. Make sure it still works. See if I've missed someone somewhere. Fab. Nice. Look at that. The big old beast. What's that? 10 high. So I think that's gone all the way, hasn't it? From 8. I think that's as high as you can go at 8 here. Hang on. So that's 8. Yeah, I think that's going to go down to 2, isn't it? Yeah, 8 to 2 is as good as it can get. Because that'll be 9 and that'll be 1. Yeah. Wow. Nice. I like this game. I think this could be a fun tower defense game, right? It could be a fun tower defense. Right, now then. So the next thing is just to populate it with some forage. So I need to think carefully about what's going to be called. Path cell objects, and we'll call this empty non-path cell object. Because what I'd quite like to do, if I just take you through some of the prefabs here, if I make these as big as I can, zoom in a bit. Some of these are pretty cool. We've got ore and rock and stuff, and I'm wondering if maybe they could be used in a certain way. Maybe I'm overthinking it at the moment. So I don't just want to call it empty cell. I just want to call it scenery. Should we call it scenery objects? Scenery cell objects. Yeah, all right. Okay, so we're going to have another public grid cell object array of what did I say? Scenery cell objects. Oh, okay. And I think what we'll do for now, we'll just create some more assets for them. So under grid cells, we're going to create a new grid cell, and we'll start off with one called ore cell. All right. Come on. Oh, would you? Good man. Good man. Now we should just be able to... So it's not path, it's going to be ground. It's a ground type. This is very clumsy right now. But anyway, so it was called ore, wasn't it? Ore. There. And we don't need to worry about rotation on these. That's one. And let's create another one. But let's just Control D it. And we'll... what was the other one? Rock. A rock cell. And that's going to contain the rock. That one. Again, we don't need to worry about rotation. And there was one more. Oh, there's two. There's 3 sets of trees, aren't there? And there's an empty cell as well. Have I got empty cell here already? No. Haven't I? Yeah, grass cell. Yes, I have grass cell. Ore cell, grass or rock. So and then we've got the trees. So let's just duplicate rock cell, shall we? Rock cell 1, and we'll call this tree cell. Tree cell 1, because it is a cell type of ground, and it's going to be the tree. Tree 1. That's it. and then up there, and then we'll just duplicate that. Oddly enough, that is tree cell 2 because that's the one that's got tree 2. There you go, and one more. I like the song. That's going to be tree 4. Right, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 6 possible random cells there. 6 possible random cells. So in our game manager, we've got this path cell objects of secondary scenery cell objects. So we're going to put that as 6. Okay, and then we'll populate those with these values. I don't think we'll put grass in 0 or in 1. In 2, and then we'll put the trees in here. Now, arguably, maybe that's going to be too busy. Maybe we should have more grass than anything else, but we'll just, for now, let's just do that. Okay, so we've got our scenery cell. So at the moment, we're just going to randomize the whole thing. All right. So if we go back to our script, under our grid manager, we've laid the path cells, which is great. Now let's start a coroutine. I don't know if we need to start a coroutine, but we'll call this lay scenery cells. Now, right now, I don't think we need any parameters to go into it, do we? No, because we've got the scenery cell objects up there, right? Okay, so what was it called? Lay scenery cells, and it needs to be our enumerator. And why have we got an update there? Let's just get rid of update for now. Enumerator. Okay, beauty. So now we're going to go through all of the cells, and if it's got a path there, we don't touch it. If it's got a path there, we don't touch it. But if which we can check, all right, because we'll have an X and a Y, so this should be quite easy to do. So we'll say 4 tab. Remember X, and then grid width, and then 4. No, we've got just after the 4. There we go. Y, and that's part of grid. Oh, stop that. Grid height. And we change that to Y. I don't know why that. There we go. Y plus plus. There we go. Right, and we're going to say now, if brackets path generator dot. I thought there was an is. Yeah, path generator. Are those private methods? Yeah, they're private. So I'll make them public. Okay. Where was I? In here somewhere. It wasn't there, it was here. All starts to blur into one thing after a while. If path generator dot cell is empty, yeah, X comma Y, we'll say int random scenery cell index equals random dot range 0 comma scenery cell objects dot count dot length, isn't it? Okay, and then we'll say instantiate scenery cell objects that one, the index. Nasty business. Comma new vector 3 x comma 0f comma y no yes comma quaternion dot identity. Boom! What a statement that is. Come on. Right, and then we'll just for the sheer hell of it, we need to put I think for the sake of our sanity, if we did it at 0.25, let's do it. Come on. For each one. And then at the very bottom, yield return. No. I think that's going to play the game, and we'll just make that 0.1. We might even need to go quicker than that actually, but let's just see. So that's going to right. We'll put stuff in there, so it's going to pick a random cell from our list of scenery cells, populate it in that slot, and then move around. It's going to wait 0.1 seconds, which I think is going to be too slow, but let's find out. Here we go. It's going to create the path. Beautiful. We could probably make this a bit smaller, couldn't we, to make it a bit quicker. There we go. Come on. Okay, that hasn't done nothing. Hasn't done nothing. Why is that? Is that because start coroutine like an idiot? Is there a wait for coroutine to finish or something? Lay senior cells should have worked though. Should have worked anyway. Let's just double check it's getting called. Let's put a debug in here. I've just realised this is actually quite bad, because I think it's going to call it immediately. It's not going to wait for the other coroutine to finish. So we need to have a little look to see how that's how we synchronise it. We'll have a look at that in a second. Debug log. Lay scenery cells. Started. And I just want to have a look at the other debugs right now. Hang on then. Let's get rid of this one. Okay, that's the only ones we've got in here, because I don't want to make it all messy. Okay, let's try and run this again. Get the console going. Just clear there. Oh, look, did you see there was an error there? Cannot instantiate a scriptable object with the position and rotation. What? It's done it here. Did we get a... Hang on, let's go back to the thing. We did get a sub... Cannot instantiate a scriptable object with a position and rotation. What did I do then? What's wrong with that? Random scenery cell index. Scenery cell objects. Help me, mama. Scenery cell objects which are populated. Let's just double check. Yep. They're all there. This is the line that's causing the problem. Hang on. No, it's not. Sorry. It's not the line. It's this line here that's causing the problem. I am pretty sure. Let's just run a debugger. Let's run a debugger. It's time. It's time for the debugger. I feel like I should play some music. Right, okay, here we go. Moustache, hello mate. Hello, how are we doing? How are we doing? Yeah, this is the one that's going to cause a problem. It's press F, it's F10, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah, that's thrown an error. Yep, that's blown up on me. Okay, so we can just press stop now. And I don't know why. Did I mess up on the quaternion thing? How are we doing, fella? How's it going, Moustache? We're making interesting progress. Let's get rid of you. Well, we're getting so close. Hang on, what do I put here? That's right, though. I'm so sure that's right. Let's have a quick look up here. X0F. New vector 3, path target, scenery cell objects, random. Oh, it's not that. And then it's dot bloody cell prefab. Gosh, of course it is. Right, this isn't going to work properly, but it should at least populate. It should at least populate, but I think it's going to get a bit confused with the it's going to do the scenery at the same time as the. There you go. Ironically, it's working because this is faster than that one, but that's not what we want at all. But look, that's a busy old. If that was a tower defense game, you'd be upset, wouldn't you? You'd be upset. Where the hell do I put my towers? That looks pretty reasonable, doesn't it? That looks pretty reasonable. Now, how do we synchronize our coroutines? Yeah, okay, so let's do Unity, wait for coroutine to finish. There you go. Yeah, obviously I can't use that to freeze the entire thing. He's right. So let's see what this guy says. Come on. I'm pressing it, but nothing's coming up. Oh, there we go, eventually. Start coroutine. I mean, what I could actually do is just in the it would be a bit more straightforward if I just in this method. Hang on, let's stop it. Rather than make life difficult for myself, I'll just rename the first one to lay parcels. We'll just say we'll just call this lay grid. Lay grid, all right. Yeah, and we'll just call, and then we'll have a method called lay grid. I think this is how you're going to do it. I think this is how we do it. And then we'll have a private void. No, it'll be an enumerator, won't it? Enumerator. Lay grid. And that's going to. Was it? Yeah. It's going to do two things. This is a bit cheeky, but and then we'll have it as going to call that, and then lay scenery cells, and then yield return null. And then get rid of you. Cheeky, but it works. Thank you, Grim. That's a bit that should work, I think. So that's going to do two. So it'll do that, then it'll run that. I think this is going to work. I think this is going to work better. Let's see. I mean, normally you wouldn't need to. You wouldn't. Nope. It hasn't worked. Why hasn't that worked? Is that gonna wait for ages and then suddenly? Yeah, the fact that I can stop it means I think. Oh, that's annoying. I thought that was going to work. I thought that was going to work. Okay, to the internet. To the internetatorium. There is another horrible way I could do it, and that's create a Boolean. That is one way. Oh, great. Yeah, so this is the thing, right? You cannot wait for a coroutine to function in the main thread, otherwise the game will freeze until your function ends. Is to use a book that contains... Yes, this is what I was going to suggest, which is a bit grim, is that we have a Boolean. The great Google gods, they always know. I hate it though. I suppose the other option is I could actually inlay. The other option is I could get a lay path cells to call lay scenery cells at the end. But this is cleaner. This is really what I should be doing. Hubba hubba. The other thing I could do. Is forget putting it in a coroutine. Forget lay grid. We'll call that. So the second bit's not going to be quite so fancy. The second, it's just going to go blat and lay everything down in one go. Oh, it's not though, or is it? No, it's not. It's still the same problem. It's still the same problem. Oh, this is what this is. This is just going to go bang and lay everything down. Oh no, it isn't. Interesting. Is this actually going to wait, or no? It never actually ran it in the first place. Why? I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting that to run straight away. Lay path cells there. Lay scenery cells. Oh my goodness gracious me. Right, let's try one more thing. This is a bit of a... Let's get this one to do... Ah, now hang on. I think it has to be void. But I think we're still going to... This isn't going to fix it. Or at least it's going to cause another problem. Oh, what have I done? Oh yeah, if it's void, it shouldn't have a return, should it? Yeah, this is just going to cause another problem, I think, where it's just going to splat everything down. Yeah, and then it's going to... Oh, I tell you what, though, it sort of works, though, because it doesn't override it. I mean, if you didn't care, if you weren't worried about the fact that you wanted to do that fancy wobble around thing, it would be okay, wouldn't it? I would like to try and work out how to get it to... I would like to try and work out how to make that a coroutine that runs afterwards. But maybe that's for another day. Let's have another quick look, shall we? Let's have another quick look, see what we got. Do you know, Reddit. Reddit is... Wait for a K2... Reddit is the place, isn't it? Hold or wait while this is it. Answers.unity.com. Come on. I definitely clicked that. There, I was timing out. Unity, Answers.unity is not working. That's a bit worrying. Unity, I want answers and you're timing out. Yeah, okay, sorry, I shouldn't have pressed it. How about this one? IQ code. Oh, look. There you go. That's what you do. That's what you do. Right, I think I can do this. So back to where we were a minute ago. So we say, let's have a method called start coroutine. Let's call it create grid. Brackets, path cells. Let's get rid of you a second. Okay, and then I think if we just right click here and say quick actions and refactoring, create method, create grid. Boom, there we go. And then this is going to have, should be an enumerator though. Yep. And then we're going to say yield return lay path cells, brackets path cells, and then yield return lay scenery cells. Whatever on the scenery cells, we know why that's not working because that needs to be an I enumerator with a couple of these things going on. I think that might work. Peeps. I think. Okay, we can but try. Let's have a look and see. It's a promising start. Yeah, there you go. It's not doing it the direction I thought it would. Oh yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. And there we go, folks. Got a maze. Different every time. Different every time. And it's unique. I think we're in a good place. We can have a little spin around. It should be nice and easy to follow this path. The challenge is when I need to add crossroads. Things start to get very confusing very quickly. There you go, Moustache. It's looking pretty okay, isn't it? Do we think we've got too much grass and trees? I mean, we can adjust that algorithm, can't we? We can adjust that algorithm. But obviously this would be a horror story if you were trying to put your towers in. Unless you have like a toolbar that has that says clear space, and that costs money as well. That could be interesting, couldn't it? That could be interesting. A tower defense game where one of the challenges is as the levels progress, you get less available space. All right, and these ores. This is what I was thinking. These ores could be good for something. It's like a tower defense craft. How about it? A tower defense crafting game. Come on, that's got to be. They can. Let's do that now. Hang on. So the best way for me to show that the question is, can towers go on the scenery? And let's just pull up some scenery. Hang on. If I just do prefabs here, I'll just bring out the grass one, right? Let's just reset that to 0, 0. Pop it over here. Let's get rid of the game edges there. That's fine. So the grass is here. If I put up the base here, hang on, and reset that. Pull that up. I think it needs to go to 0.2. Oh, it's on. So hang on. And then we bring that one in. Same thing. Reset it. I don't know whereabouts that needs to go. Hang on. I've never worked out how to pivot this properly either. It always seems to pivot in the wrong place. Like that. Yeah. This is a pretty horrible looking tower, to be honest with you. But yes, there you go. That's what we like. And then you click on that, I guess. And then you can rotate it. Zzz, zzz, like that, you see. Round it goes. Yes, this is it. And we can have all sorts of different things. And you can use those different things to... As the people come along. Wow, that's not a bad shout, is it? Or we can have little men that roam around chopping down trees. And then if I just show you some of the prefabs. I've got snow here as well. I mean, there's nothing to stop me making my own, to be honest with you. These are very basic. I mean, and I'm okay with Blender enough to be able to, make a shape like that looks like a tree. Yeah, so I think I'm okay in that regard. What's all this lot? Oh, look at that! You can set the theme for it. There we go. Anyway, yeah. So I think we could do a whole bunch of stuff. Well, mate, I tell you what, I need discount. Do you know anybody that's got any artistic skills? Anybody at all? Pixel art, 3D, particularly around not so much the animation, the modelling, but the artistic texturing. If you know anybody that can do some of that, please, including yourself, let's talk. Let's talk. Okay, I think for the sake of my insanity, I think I'm going to stop now. I'm going to have a play around with some of these pieces. Hang on, let's just get rid of this. I can just see that, can't I? Let's run this a few times. Shall we see what we get? I'll tell you actually before we run it, let's get these speeds. These speeds are kind of pointless now, aren't they? But let's make that 0.025, something like that. Right? This might look a bit more sensible now. Okay. There we go. Even that, I think we should go quicker. Hang on, I'm trying to get a good angle because the image will always be the same, right? What we can actually do here, because we don't have to have it like that, we can actually run it in game mode. Hang on, let's do something like that, shall we? And then we grab our main camera, and then say game object align with view, but being the system that it is, you have to copy the component, and then when you stop it, it resets. So you have to quickly say paste component values. Now, if I run it, let's go back to game mode and do play maximized. Now we actually see what it looks like in game mode now. There we go, right? And then what we can actually do, if we want to, is actually set that to solid colour. There we go. Let's try that. Have a look now. I don't know what colour we should go with, but that looks quite nice. It's quite a nice soft colour. I feel like it should go that way. Given, I know this is kind of irrelevant, but I feel like it should. I feel like it should go. So the way we do that is we do y first, and then we start at the top. So we say y equals grid height -1. Yeah, and then y is greater than or equal to 0. This is horrible for loop. It's never how you do it. And then y plus plus, and then you can do the x grid width. Oh, and then x plus plus. Bit clumsy, but that'll work. That'll work, I think. Yeah. Oh. There's something wrong there. Let's have a quick look. Hang on. Ah, x is less than grid width. Look. Okay, this is too slow. But it's gonna be y minus minus. Because it starts at the top. Come on, idiot. Thank you, Erin. That's the spirit. Ezrin, sorry, Erin. There you go. Pop. There we go. And I think what I'll need to do as well, so I think this game will need a scroll wheel control, so zoom in and out, and maybe a left and right, so you can zoom in and then get a nice place. Obviously, we need like a little toolbar down there, a score, a wave counter, and some sort of explosion if they reach this point. I don't know how they're going to come in. They could kind of spawn through that hole, couldn't they? That's what they're going to do. They're going to come through that hole, and then they're going to go into that hole. And if they make it into that hole, then in fact, if they reach that point, then they go into the hole, and then they you lose health or whatever. Yeah, but we can get some more kind of ores and things. So we've got the pink ores there. Maybe we can have a different colour ore. In fact, that would be very easy, because what I can do is under my prefabs, I can just grab one of these. So we'll call this what's a pink ore? What's colour? What ore is pink? I don't know. Is there a pink ore? Cobalt? Is cobalt pink? I should know this from Space Engineer, shouldn't I? But let's just duplicate that. Let's copy out here. Right, what we can do is, using my palette, I remember where it is, colour palettes, 16 palette. I can change the colour on the pink ones to something like green. I don't know, green. Green's not good because the grass is green, but light blue. How about light blue? Yeah, and then we'll grab that in there. We'll rename it to iron. Yeah, amethyst. I'll call that one amethyst. I've spelled that right, I don't know. And then we can pop that into the prefabs. And I want to do an original prefab. Thank you. Amethyst ore. And then what I can then do under my grid cells is, let's rename that to, what was that called? To cobalt ore. And let's just copy it. I do apologise. Amethyst ore cell, and then under our game manager, change that to 7. Hang on, amethyst ore we need to change, don't we, to our, in here, amethyst. There you go. Okay, and then under our game manager, got 7. There should be an empty slot now. Yeah, let's put tree cell in there by default. That's interesting. No, not you. Grid cells. Amethyst ore cell. There you go. Right, now we should have a pink and blue option. I hope. Oh, hang on. If you're wondering why that's there, that's because there you go. You've got pink and blue. See, so we've got options here. Got options, peeps. Let's delete that boy. I'm still gonna go slower on the that's on the scenery cell. So let's make that 0.05 here. And we'll make this 0.01. Because, you know, laying is important. Pop. There you go. There you got options of blue or pink. And a lot of trees, a lot of wood. Cool. Guys, I think we're going to call it. We're going to call it tomorrow. Tomorrow? Yes, tomorrow. We're going to make crossroads on this thing here. And we're going to... by crossroads, let me just take you back to the examples I had earlier. Hang on. These. You call them crossroads, T-junctions, whatever you want to call them. That's a bit more of a complicated one. Hang on, let's find a simple one. Come on. Hang on. Let's find a simple one. There we go, like that. There we go. So around about. Now, the thing I noticed about this is it's not straightforward. Making those is actually quite easy. Getting an alien or an enemy to go round them in the right way is very confusing. Thank you, Ezra, and thank you, man. I'll be uploading this to YouTube, so let me quickly poke my YouTube. Where's the chat? Where's the chat? Somebody type exclamation mark YouTube, would they? Exclamation mark YT. Don't do it there. Would they be so kind? Yeah, we'll make some cross and we'll get the aliens. We'll start thinking about spawning waves. There you go. Thank you, man. Thank you, guys. We'll start talking about how to make waves of aliens, and then of course we're going to start thinking about turrets and a UI. UI is definitely one of my weaker areas. Getting a decent UI, drag and drop, and all that stuff is definitely something I need to. This might be something that causes some pain. We shall see. It's been an absolute pleasure